All righty.
Hi, everyone. I wish I could be there live today, but unfortunately I was double booked. So you have to listen to me recorded virtually. So we'll see how this goes. This is the first time I've done this. And if I mess up, hopefully Dwayne can delete some stuff, but we'll see how this goes. I'm Karissa Isaccs, the Director of Producer Resources for Superior Farms. And I was asked to talk just a little bit about state of the industry for sheep and lamb, and then go into a little bit of our producer programs, which is what I oversee at Superior Farms. So just kind of painting the picture of what we've seen in the last 2 years, joining you last year, and talking about 2020, what a huge change. I mean, night and day of what 2020 and 2021 was for the sheep industry. When we look at federally inspected slaughter, we've stayed around about 2 million for quite a while, and you can see that we had a little bit of a dip in 2017, and that's because we essentially had great demand in 2016 and killed ourselves essentially into a supply problem in 2017. And then, excuse me, we all know what came with 2020 and COVID, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more, but and why we saw that drop in 2020 and 2021. So in 2020, we were down about 130,000 lambs going through a federally inspected slaughter on a 52-week basis. We were up about 43,000 in that 52-week year over year in 2021. So why were we down 130,000 head? Well, this is from Superior Farms and what we're estimating. We started off the year about 45,000 lambs down just in general. Then from there, in the last 3 months out of 2020, Canada came in and took about 34,000 head. And then we saw a terrible market, right? No one was happy with the market that we saw in 2020. A lot of that attributed to COVID and what we experienced here in the US and around the world even. But because of that and those low market prices, we saw more producers retain their more replacement ewe lambs, excuse me. So with that retain ownership of those ewe lambs, we were down about another 30,000. And then we believe just that about 21,000 head went into non-federally inspected slaughter due to the events of 2020. And that's what gets us to that 130,000 head. So if we want to take a quick look at what caused and what were some of those major events of 2020 to cause the market. January 21st, everyone is well aware of COVID, right? And what we've been experiencing, what we're still experiencing. But that was actually when the first COVID case of COVID-19 was confirmed, was January 21. March 11th, then the WHO declared COVID-19 an official pandemic. And on March 16th, we were told to avoid eating in restaurants, avoid groups larger than 10, stay at home. About that time, Superior Farms decided with 60% of US lamb going to food service, we better change some of our ways and look at some new packaging equipment for the case ready side of our packing facilities so that we could ramp up retail, hopefully, and still send out just as much supply. On March 19th, Mountain States Rosin declared Chapter 11 bankruptcy. And we were really questioning where that additional 6,000 to 8,000 head being harvested were going to go. Was the ethnic trade going to pick that up? Were small plants going to pick that up? And with COVID being here and rampant, and we were getting told stay at home, we did see a lot of small plants already start picking up processing, more and more processing, and we're continuing to see that today. As of July 23rd, excuse me, Mountain States Rosin officially closed their doors. And so from March 19th to January 23rd, they ramped up. They tried to get as much lamb in the freezer as they possibly could from their producers. And until that last day they possibly could. September 21st, we saw Colorado lamb processors open in Brush, Colorado. And like I said a little bit ago, those last 3 months of the year, we saw Canada take 34,000 head of our traditional lambs. If we take a different perspective of this, and truly what I'm trying to do is paint the picture of what happened in 2020 and 2021. And it essentially is just building these layers and truly telling the story of why and what made the industry what it is for those years. So in 2020, Easter and Greek Easter, that was right around the time that we got told, stay at home, keep it less than 10. So essentially Greek Easter and Easter were non-events of 2020. We did see a little bit of a pickup from Ramadan and Eid al-Fitr, which is the Muslim holiday to celebrate their break of fasting. We did see a little bit of a pickup from Eid al-Adha, which is their festival of sacrifice. Excuse me. But then again, we get into these later fall holidays where we expect a little bit of a pickup. And we weren't seeing that with Thanksgiving, Christmas, or even New Year's. Then if we take 2021, look at those exact same holidays, we see that in 2021, basically, we were in a year of this and we're like, no, we're not, Americans aren't doing this anymore. So we did celebrate a little bit more with Easter. We actually had an uptick and we were up about 24,000 head of federally inspected lambs going through the facilities. Ramadan, again, a bigger uptick. Greek Easter brought in about 11,000 head, up 33%. And one of the things that really helped us in 2021 too, if we look at 2020 versus 2021, 2020 was so close between Greek Easter and Easter. And then we hit 2021. We've been in a year of COVID. We had 5 weeks in between Easter and Greek Easter. And so a lot of people decided to celebrate both holidays. And so we saw that great increase there. Even with Eid al-Fitr being on a Wednesday in 2021, we still saw a jump from 2020. Same with Eid Allah. And then Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's were up just a little bit. But if we looked at this from a different perspective and looked at it as a different protein, we would probably see a different story as far as Christmas and New Year's go. So how do weekly kill volumes affect our available supply in the market? So we're looking at 2021, we were down about 8,000 head in those first couple of weeks. Then in weeks 8 to 18, we were up about 63,000 head. And what really helped us was the unexpected high kill volumes for those Muslim holidays. Weeks 19 to 36, essentially, we killed ourselves into a short supply. We had demand, and so that's why we're seeing those lower levels there. And then the last 7 weeks, we had demand we had supply, it was there, and so was demand. And so we were just pretty steady. This tells the exact same story. We were sitting pretty steady. Excuse me. And we were killing pretty current. As you can see, from our 5-year average in 2020, we were down to about 130.2 pounds. And then in 2021, we were down to about 126.2 pounds for weights by month. Over a 52-week average from 2021 to 2020, That weight being brought down to that 126 brought us down about 1% on tonnage from year over year. Interestingly enough, I think, some of these states on here for federally inspected top 10 would surprise you. Obviously, Colorado, California, really traditional markets. We see that in the average weights of 2020, and we know that those are obviously a lot of traditional lambs going through. But for New Jersey to be at number 3, and we can see that just from the weight alone, that's ethnic trade and those lower weights there. Then we have Michigan and Minnesota because of confidentiality. They report together. They were down about 4%. And then number 7 would be the other traditional situation there. Oregon being Anderson Ranches. So those are the ones that we see there. Looking at Sioux Falls from 2020, again, the conversation I had with you guys last year to this year, completely different. We saw the low of 80 cents in that market. And then in 2021, demand was there and we saw 284. That's up 204, which is a 255% increase from year over year. And then in 2022, we're still seeing those high prices at about 235, 230, still going through Sioux Falls as we start out this calendar year. If we look at the Colorado feedlot inventory, this is the 5-year average. We bring in 2020, we're sitting just right about the 5-year average. And then we look at 2021, and where we see that bigger peak coming in is we had earlier Dakota and Montana lambs coming in because of the drought. And 2022, we're sitting just above the 5-year average between that 200 or just a little bit above 200,000 head. Just wanted to again look at the major lamb feeding areas year over year. Colorado was up 46,000 head. The Imperial Valley was up 13,000 head. Because of the droughts, again, California, Oregon, and Washington were down. Idaho sat pretty stagnant as far as feeding lambs. Wyoming is at about 4,500. And then our biggest question mark is the Midwest. How many lambs are being fed? Where are they going into the traditional market? And we believe that was about 30,000 down. Then looking at cold storage, again, looking at a 5-year average in 2020 and 2021. If we look at that red line, again, we can look at that peak and we can see where we started stockpiling, right? Mountain State Rosen had declared Chapter 11, and they started putting a bunch of lamb in the freezer. We also weren't selling food service at this point. And then honestly, 2020, then we had government buys also thanks to ASI, and they started helping us with freezer inventory, but then the demand continued and we're way below the 5-year average in all of 2021. We continue to see strong numbers coming from Australia and New Zealand. We expect to continue to see more imports coming in because of their exchange rates. I tried to go through that pretty quickly, trying to keep it under 30 minutes here. And so I know there probably will be a lot of questions around the industry. And of course, I'm not there to answer them, but please, at the end of this presentation is my email address and my phone number. Please feel free to give me a call, shoot me an email, and I would be happy to discuss any of the state of the industry with you. So switching gears and talking about my realm of business with producer programs and what we're trying to do at Superior Farms. If you're not familiar with Flock 54 yet, or the Flock Forward program, it is what we're looking at as far as our transformation and traceability through the processing facility. So looking at utilizing EID tags from a producer's standpoint and a management standpoint, taking those EID tags to the plant, taking those lambs through the camera grading system, and ultimately utilizing Flock 54, our genomics program, to make genetic progress in your flock. If you're a Superior Farms producer partner and you're sending lambs to our facilities, the camera grading that is available to you, you log into the producer portal, and here is the outlook of what you would get. You'll get a back view and a side view of your lambs, each individual lamb, excuse me, as well as all the carcass data that you would be looking for, from yield grade to quality grade to our ovine cutability calculation or boneless closely trimmed retail cuts, and then those expected weights of each of the primal cuts. We would then take that information, and this is where we see the full feedback loop for flock forward programs. So again, we would start with the producer EID and management software. The producer would put in those EID tags. We then would read those EID tags, report back to you what the camera data is through the producer portal that is your individual login. And then you're able to put all of that data back into your management software. The step that we felt like we were missing in 2019 or 2018 even, but 2019 is when it launched, was a genomics program. So great, we see all of this great information coming from the producer portal, and we're looking at each individual lamb. We're able to take lot information and look at lot performance, and then we're even able to compare you back to what's going through the rest of the plant day to day. But how do we make changes from there? You see all that data, you put it into your management software, but what changes are you going to make for the better of those lambs to only continue to see progress? And so that's where we partnered with the University of Idaho and came up with our genomics program, Flock 54. This would be an example of results you would get back currently from Flock 54. So a lot of disease traits of interest to you would probably be scrapie. We have all the codons on there, spider, fecundity or prolificacy of your animals. We also have the OPP, excuse me, haplotypes, as well as a OPP resistance score. And talking to some of you guys in the fall, I know this is of excitement to you. We are officially reporting now on the dwarf gene. So that is available to you as well. And then of course, we do report on spider. More importantly, as a commercial producer, where the excitement for club lambs is the dwarf gene, right? You're able to get dwarf, spider, scrapie, OPP if you're interested, all in one panel for a low cost. But as a commercial producer, I think more importantly is we're able to do parentage. And so you're like, yeah, Chris, I have 1,000 sheep, I have 2,000 sheep. I'm not doing parentage on all of those lambs. But if we're able to take in rams and some of those lambs, parent back to the camera, I think that there's some great things, and I'll show you here in a minute what I'm talking about that are applicable for a commercial production system and why it's important to take in these technologies and tools and utilize them, no matter what type of production system you're seeing. So we launched in the fall of 2019. We're currently on version 3, which is pretty exciting. Again, I just said it's exciting because we're officially reporting back on the dwarf gene, but we have a lot of studies currently happening to look for new markers for Dozer syndrome, for angular limb, for Johne's disease, and milk production. But from version 3, what we were able to put on were a better myostatin marker, as well as we officially have haplotype number 4 for OPP, which we haven't in the past. Another great thing that came out of 2021 was Flock 54 in our lab is officially recognized as a certified lab for scrapie susceptibility. So you can use your Flock 54 results to show scrapie susceptibility. And then we're also able to, anything in our database, we're able to run back through parentage across all animals. So in the past, we've only been able to do producer, whatever that producer submits, but now we're able to run it across the entire database. So anything that is transferring, changing hands of owner to owner, we're still able to go back through if it's Flock 54 tested and give you parentage on those. I think now that we've completed what we feel like at this point, the feedback loop, the great things that come out of Flock Forward and Superior Farms feedback loop is now we're seeing a lot of breed associations want their animals to become Flock 54 certified. We're seeing a lot of this with heritage breeds. So again, I think there's applications for genomics, for genetic tools, no matter what kind of production system you have. And so I think one of the great things when we look at the different tools out there that are available is there's always somebody there that they have as the face that would love to talk to you about what your genetic benchmarks are, what your goals are for the coming year, and what makes the most sense, what tool makes the most sense for you. Flock 54 may not be for you, but there are a lot of different applications that I think Flock 54 maybe is the tool for you. And the thing that gets me the most excited is validating sire performance, and that's with the camera grading, that's with Flock 54. So you're only going to be able to get it at this level from our Flock Forward program. So what I'm talking about is we can take that camera grading that we see that you can export, and you can look at your average cutability scores by sire, right? So here's 36 different rams that were all Flock 54 tested. This is a study out of California, and you can see which sires gave you lambs that are the best performing as far as cutability. And we can do this for any of the traits off the camera. But even more importantly, and as we see ram prices continue to rise, I think this is the most telling, the most powerful thing that you can look at, especially from a commercial perspective. If you're buying 36 rams, and let's just put a price tag from last year of $1,500 on average for those rams, they only give you one lamb. That's not going to make your money back, right? And so let's take this data back with the previous data of OCC yield and find those outliers, find those rams that are giving you the best carcass attributes as well as the most lambs. And that's getting you the most bang for your buck. And so at the end of the day, it is truly saving you money. And to me, I don't think there's anything more powerful than pairing this data together so that you can save money on rams, but at the end of the day, make more money on your lambs because you're getting more and more from those great rams. But on the other token, you may find out that those rams that are giving you 24, 25, hopefully more than that even, are maybe not giving you the best performing carcasses either. And so from their offspring. So it's definitely the most powerful tool that I can think of. And it obviously I get really excited about it. That is, some of the things that I focus on a lot is the producer programs and Flock Forward. And since I've been at Superior Farms, we've spent a lot of time looking at Flock 54, what can we do to make it better every single day? So from the results format, what is next? Can we create a producer portal that's for Flock 54 producers so that they can look at their entire flock that they've tested? Can they create relationship matrices on their own? Those are things that we're doing as a service through Flock 54, but give you the ability to do that, give you the ability to run a new parentage output. All of those different things come into play there. And I've really tried to put a lot of focus around that, trying to build Flock 54. What is its capabilities? And truly, Flock 54 is only as strong as the producers that I talk to. So, you're interested in flock 54, but you're hesitant about some of those markers, they don't interest you, let's have a conversation about that, because we're able, and especially at this time of the year, we're able to apply for grants and start new studies so that we can discover new traits and get those on our flock 54 panel. Again, we do offer some discounts for our producer partners as well as NSIP members. So it is advantageous of you to have a conversation with me. Let's talk about your sheep. Let's talk about what your flock goals are, and then we can talk about pricing. Another thing that I focus on is our producer advisory board for Superior Farms. So we actually have 9 producer advisory board members from around the United States. Previous one from Kansas would be Ron Gibson. And we've actually had a couple different ones. Joseph Hubbard, I think, I know was actually on as well. And from that group, we take a broad look at the industry. What are we struggling with? What are our constraints? What can make our sheep industry better for our producers, for our seed stock producers, for our packers, for our feeders? And how can we make it the best day for everyone, right? How can we find that sweet spot? So we look at it from that perspective. We also have them, as those 9 members, say, what can Superior Farms be doing better? What are we not doing for you? And so out of that and out of those conversations, when we meet, came the idea of looking at productivity and efficiency. And again, that's nothing new. It's not that we came up with this crazy new idea, right? Everyone is focused on their production efficiency and their productivity of their flocks. But how can we help continuously improve that? And so from that idea came the Sheep Discovery Center. What we did after we met with the producer advisory board is our executive team of Superior Farms met, and we looked at what have other proteins or other animal sectors done in productivity since 1990. And as you can see here, every other sector has improved by at least 20% since 1990. And it would be a lot better if I was in the room with you and I could say, what do you think the sheep industry has done? Well, unfortunately, as you probably would have guessed it, our increase for lambs per ewe has sat essentially at 0. We're at 1% right now, right? And some of you may argue, well, we may be at higher than that. We may be at higher than that 1.1 lambs per ewe that is the US reported number. But at the end of the day, does that mean anything at what our weaning percentage is too? So I think there's definitely, we could argue, is this accurate? Is it not? But at the end of the day, we can all agree that we have a lot of productivity to improve upon to get to where those other animal sectors are. For instance, we deal with a seasonality issue where 85% of our lambs are born in the first 5 months of the year. And we're expected to provide fresh American lamb 365 days a year. And so when we just look at those 2 different graphs for productivity, we see where there is room to improve, right? So the idea of the Sheep Discovery Center is we really, truly want to take technology that's already there, technology that other animal sectors are already using, and have a convergence of them. One may be working, but how do they all work together? And is it going to create an improvement for our industry? Again, we're seeing that with our Flock Forward program of just Flock 54 and electronic ID tags, but taking that to the next step and also looking at what we can do with just even these 3, including accelerated lambing, and trying to improve upon that seasonality issue that we deal with. from the EID standpoint in the Flock Forward program, what can we measure to be improved upon? Just like I talked about when we were talking about Flock 54, you know, and the camera grading, it's great. And we can look at metrics all day long, but if we don't know what we want to improve on, then metrics don't do us any good. It would also lead us to better blockchain traceability. Those lambs are being born at the Sheep Discovery Center and they're EID tagged, and then they are followed through the entire process, as well as looking at the carcass digitization that we already talked about earlier on. So April of last year, we went to Nephi, Utah. We looked at a turkey facility. This is an old turkey facility. They still had turkeys in there at that time. And we purchased this lot of land. Again, if I was in person, I could show you better which sheds currently have lambing currently are lambing barns and have pins set up in there for our bonding pins, and what our group housing will be after that for those ewes and lambs. And then, as you can see here from these lot lines, we also have a lot of open land that those ewes and lambs can go to afterwards. Here's another picture. You can see the sheds a little bit better. This is one of the sheds as it stood when we purchased it. And this is one of the sheds today as we put in new lighting. We fixed up the curtains a little bit more. And as you can see in this picture, those feeders are just about in place. That's one of the group housing sheds. This is the lambing barn. You can see several bonding pins. At this time, there are lambs being born. And so one of the things that I didn't mention about the sheep that are at the Sheep Discovery Center is, you know, we have a long time partnership with our producers. So we have our producer advisory board. We have our producer partner program where it's a leader or a ranking program. So how many lambs are you sending us? Are you increasing that? And we have all these different levels that they can get, and they get different prizes and awards for that based on our relationship. And so we try to create new things like that all the time. Well, this opportunity with the Sheep Discovery Center, we are bringing in producer partners. None of the animals are owned by Superior Farms. All of the ewes coming into the facility, as well as the rams, are from producer partners. They may have not been a Superior Farms partner before, but at this point, majority of them are. But they are just innovative producers who want to see a change, want to be part of a change, and want to see how far we can push that convergence of technology. We're going to really focus on sustainability from a carbon positive production standpoint, even from a viability of the industry standpoint, the sustainability of the industry. How long can we be around? We don't want to go away anytime soon. And so it's truly looking at sustainability from that standpoint as well. Focused a lot on animal stewardship. We're partnered with several different universities on this Sheep Discovery Center that are helping us with our animal welfare and animal stewardship management, as well as sustainability. And then the Internet of Things. You know, we talked about the convergence of three simple things from our genomics panel to EID tags and the management software there, as well as accelerated lambing. But how much further can we push this? How much more can we understand in these metrics that we can take so that you can take back as a producer small pieces of this to improve your production system at home? And so just as in the name, the Discovery Center, we're going to find things that may help you in your production system. We're going to find things that you may, or we may have thought would help in a production system that are absolutely not going to it. And we fully expect that. We fully expect to fail on some of these things, but it's better that we do it at the Discovery Center and we can provide that data back to you, those metrics back to you, and you can continue to be viable in your own operation. So again, the opportunity is producer partners contributing ewes, becoming a shareholder in the Sheep Discovery Center, taking data on their genetics, we're collecting all the metrics that we possibly can. And then as a producer partner, you have first rights back at the genetics that are coming out of the Discovery Center. Same with rams. They're receiving production data back. They're seeing their sire performance. It's no surprise to them, rather than those seed stock producers coming back and saying, whoa, what kind of camera data did you get from the ram that I sold and I didn't have a good call? Or, wow, my rams are performing as good as I thought. And so again, both sides of the token there, but being able to see more and more production data and tying everything together instead of being segmented. So from Superior's perspective, it is not necessary to change, but survival is not mandatory. And that's truly what we're expecting from the Sheep Discovery Center. Like I said, we want the sheep industry to continue to be viable. We want to see productivity and efficiency continue to grow in the sheep industry. And we want to start seeing our graph of productivity grow just as much as the beef, poultry, or swine, and find ways that we can all be profitable, continue to push the way that we don't have such a volatile market. And we think that a lot of these things can be solved from us collaborating, from the Sheep Discovery Center standpoint of universities collaborating with feeders, with producers, with seed stock, and as well as from the packing standpoint as well, and creating all these metrics that have never been measured at a practical standpoint before. So we're really excited about the Sheep Discovery Center. Again, if you have any questions for me, please ask Dwayne for my contact information, and I would be happy to have a phone call or an email exchange with you. So thanks for your time.
Yeah, Karissa, I have one question. On the Flock 54, I know you're doing markers for fecundin. Are you doing any for out-of-season lambing?
We do not have one for out-of-season lambing yet. That was actually brought up yesterday at another talk that I did. And so that'll be something that we're going to start seeing. I'll talk to my geneticist. I am not a geneticist by training. I am a fourth generation sheep producer and a meat scientist by training. So some of this is new to me, but definitely something that I will bring up to my team and to the geneticists that we use at University of Idaho and see what we can come up with.
All righty. Well, I'd ask anybody else if they have any questions, but since I'm the only one here, I guess we'll go ahead and sign off, and I'll have your information available.
Okay. Hopefully I didn't go too long. Sorry.
No problem.